Eagle Talk fam. Look, I hope if you are listening on the podcast, hop on over to YouTube. Check out this episode number 95 so y'all can see my man in his tracksuit.
Hey, vintage. This is vintage.
Listen, you better run, Forrest.
Whatever. What's up, y'all? We are back. Episode 95.
Episode 95.
5 episodes away from the Pajama Jam.
Oh, we're going to have a Pajama Jammy Jam?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay. Because y'all know we celebrate number 100. Put it in comments. Like, how should we celebrate episode number 100 that is just 5 episodes away? I don't know. Maybe we all should wear tracksuits.
Maybe so. Hey, but real talk, on Social Proof, they say that most people that have podcasts don't get past episode 50.
Listen, so kudos to you. Like, come on. Look, fist bump. So y'all, we are here to talk about, as we approach this Valentine's Day, how to stay in love with your business.
Yeah. Y'all know we got to talk about business all the time. We're going to get back to some relational stuff later on.
Yeah. Next week, we're actually going to talk about, how we prioritize marriage, even as entrepreneurs. But today, we're going to talk about how to stay in love with your business. Because here's the thing. Sometimes any relationship, including your relationship with your business, can get stale. There can be lots of pressures, and I don't care if you're the CEO of a large company, if you are a tutor, if you are out here stitching clothes, if you're a video, like being in your business and doing it. Sometimes the demand of it can feel overwhelming, and you fall out of love with it. Like what Jay-Z said, I get mad at it, throw it back.
You say I had it, got mad at it, and don't want it no more.
Right. So sometimes but how do you stay in love with business? So we're going to get into that today.
All right, so the first thing, my tracksuit don't have no pockets, by the way. I forgot.
But how about this? Because we have been doing this for so long. Can you just share what some of your businesses are really quickly? And then I'll share mine, because I don't want to just assume that everyone knows or remembers what we do in business.
Okay. My first business is I am co-host and owner of Eagle Talk Media.
Oh, okay.
I am co-owner of Larry Barber College in Joliet for our 14th year. We've been there. I own 50% of the equity firm. We own a lot of rental properties there. We do some wholesaling, and then our family company is Lewis Locations, where we do a lot of wholesaling, and we have a strong rental portfolio there.
Yeah, so a lot of different things. So for me, also, Eagle Talk Media with you, but I am a associate broker with eXp Realty. So transition from being a real estate agent to now a team leader, and then we have Agent Education Academy, which is a real estate learning platform. We produce another podcast, Real Estate Bestie, courses, all the fun things, events, things coming for realtors specifically. Okay, so if you notice from Corey and I, we both, and this happens with entrepreneurship, right? Sometimes you have your hand in multiple pockets. So that could be one of the reasons that you're falling out of love with one or the other. But sometimes even if you just have one thing, it can be like, oh my goodness, I don't even like this no more. So has it ever happened to you? Have you ever fell out of love with your business?
Yeah, it happens a lot. Well, not a lot, but it happens. I actually told you guys on how I hit burnout last year. And not that I fell out of love, but I was just tired.
Yeah, sometimes life be life.
Yeah.
And when life is hard.
Dealing with a lot of the same things, a lot of the same problems. And I just wanted to just go sit down somewhere, which we did. We went to Martha's Vineyard and sat down.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes. But I think the question that we're about to answer is, what do our viewers need to do when they fall out of love with their business?
Yes. And these are we really sat down and start to think about when we have felt like, and that's what it could. I love that you use the word burnout, because maybe you don't say I'm falling out of love with it, but like maybe you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're feeling burnout. Here are some steps. So here's number one. When you are starting to get that twitch, you prayed for this business, but it's like, I didn't realize I was praying for this, right? Yeah. For these issues. We're going to encourage you to first go back to your why. Start with why you even made the decision to step out and do what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, and your why can't always be money. I think your why has to almost be just in a love and enjoyment for what you're doing, but I also think it needs to kind of be futuristic, because your why for what you're doing is going to benefit you in the future, not so much right now. And I think that sometimes people get lost in the pain of what it feels like today.
Yeah, the present pain.
Yeah.
No, so it's so interesting. I was pulling into the house yesterday, and we have the cutest neighbor, Lauren. Lauren, I don't even know if you watch Eagle Talk, but I'm about to shout you out.
Send it to her.
So Lauren was she was a high school teacher, I think. And she's a runner. You always see her in the neighborhood running. And I saw her walking yesterday. She had her daughter with her. Daughter is 1. And I didn't realize that Lauren is no longer in education. Because I asked, well, who keeps your baby? And she was like, oh, I do. And she was like, but this is cool, but I need to get out and do something else. Yeah. So, me, I'm like, well, have you considered entrepreneurship? And she was like, you know what? I haven't. I just didn't really know. And my advice to her was, what is something that you would do even if you didn't get paid to do it? Mm-hmm. What's something that you're a master, an expert at? And just think about if there is an opportunity, an area where you can serve other people to get there, and maybe start there. And that really is your why, right? Mm-hmm. When I think about my business, both real estate, both being a realtor and the real estate education business, and even what we're doing at Eagle Talk, my why is people. Right. When I was teaching, it was all about serving little people. Now we get to serve big people and help them reach their goals. So when I'm frustrated or overwhelmed, or I just don't feel like showing up, I remind myself, like, you know what, but you're in it for the people. You want to see people unlock potential, and that has to be greater than the present pain that you're feeling in this moment. And that just reminds me to get back to what I'm doing. And I know for you, a lot of times in real estate, the art of the deal is your why.
Yeah, the art of the deal, but it's a couple of whys I have. The first why is I understand cash flow.
Yeah.
And I know that I need as much cash flow as possible, which that's the rental property arm. But the second thing is I want to obtain and keep as much rentals as I can, because in 25 years, if I can sell a whole portfolio for $50 million, it was worth all of the risk of everything. I went. Yeah. So it's legacy.
And I love that you said legacy, because from the outside looking in, it looks like money. But what we understand is that when you have more resources, then now you are free. You get time freedom, you get location freedom. So your why, it sounds like, is how can I build legacy so that life truly does look different for myself and everybody else.
Yeah, and the venture is going to be through real estate.
All right, I know we're talking about being in love with your business, but after 28 years, how do you stay in love with me, baby?
I had to think of 2 things. First thing would be text message. Right?
Okay.
Even last night. And another thing is I take you out.
Yes.
I take you, whether it's dinner or out of town, a staycation, a vacation. I make sure that my one-on-one time, that we get it, and I keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. So number 2, when you are falling, or how to stay in love with your business, maybe you need to start to audit your processes and your systems. And that can look a million different ways, right? It can be something as simple as saying, like, this is one process that I added to my business, y'all. When I don't feel like I'm in Texas and I was like, I just don't feel like dressing up everything. Like when it's 100 degrees outside, I don't feel like dressing up. It's hot. I'm bothered. I went and got so many shirts printed with my logo, right? So t-shirts, workout shirts, like just that process, it just made it so much easier when it's time to get dressed, because I always kind of look put together, even if I wasn't feeling it. I can throw on some jeans, a Rosemary the Realtor t-shirt, a blazer, and I'm out the door. And just thinking about, okay, how can I make the smallest things simpler in my life has helped me re-engage. And I'm also out here advertising for the business.
Yeah, well, we identify that is one less decision.
Yeah.
No different than, what you're talking about, getting dressed. Or Steve Jobs, he wore a black t-shirt and a black pair of jeans every single day because he didn't want to think about, even your mentor, one of your team leaders, she did the same thing.
Yep.
Black on black. But yeah, I get that. And we just want to keep it simple. And, that's a great example.
Yeah. And then, so that's a small one, but like what other processes? Like, are you frustrated because you keep getting the same inquiries through your website. So could having an FAQ, a frequently asked questions, or drafting templates or things like that, are there different things that you can start to automate? Can you automate social media? Can you automate the way you respond to emails? Can you create things, video of onboarding video for a new client, as opposed to having to get on the phone with them? So taking some steps to say, okay, and this is the thing, as our businesses evolve, our systems and processes need to evolve. And sometimes we get frustrated because they haven't evolved to the level of the business that we're bringing in.
Yeah, and don't forget on that piece, you have to look at the system and process.
Yes.
You can't just speed past what's not working or what is working. First, you have to identify it and then start working on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like we were telling Glennis to look at the numbers in the last episode.
Yep, look at it and figure out.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, when you're falling out of your business, what should you do?
Number 3 is evaluate your who's. In episode 88, we brought on a big who to our situation, Kim. And I think that's important. For me, I had a lot of who's that weren't doing any whoing. They were just
they weren't doing
they was just hooing. If we had a quarterly meeting, it was either the same or no result.
Yeah.
So I had to cut some strings. Not, it wasn't personal, it was business. And for me, I also had to get more who's in place to get me to where I'm trying to go. So I think that's real important. Who Not How is the book, if you guys haven't heard, but that was super important for me.
Yeah, that book, Who Not How, and we'll link it here in the show notes. It really helped us identify that most people, we mess up because we are trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this done? When the question needs to be, who can help me get this done? And going back to number 2, systems and processes, maybe you figure out, okay, this is the system that I need to put in place, but I have no clue on how to put it in place.
Right.
Making that investment of that who, and this is where we struggle as entrepreneurs, because we can do it all, but should we be doing it all? Is that the highest and best use of your gifts, your time, and your talent? So sometimes we're out of love with the business because we still out here acting like the secretary instead of the CEO.
Right.
So taking the time to evaluate, okay, what who's do I need and what who's do I have in place? Do I have the right who to be out here whoing, or do I need to make some differences in that? So definitely take the time, y'all, to really see what, like, this is a huge one. This probably should be number 1. And I guarantee you, once you get the right person in place, the business can evolve differently, but it's going to take an investment. Yeah.
And that who is also going to help you get to that next level.
Yes. And it's going to be worth that investment. And if nothing else, the investment in time. I remember I was in a mastermind, and this was around the time that we brought on Kim, and I was asking the mastermind leader something like, when I'm bringing on my who, like, when should I expect to see a return on the investment, right? And she was like, well, it depends. She was like, immediately. And I didn't understand what she was saying. And I was like, immediately? Like, I should start making money? She was like, no. Your return is not always financial.
Yeah, your time.
Right? Your time. She was like, so if you can put the right who in place, that's going to put you in position to start doing the things that are, to start thinking about the business, to start growing it, to spend time with your family, because you're not doing these small tasks, it's going to make all the difference in the world. Yeah. So make sure that you really spend some time on this one, evaluating your who's.
I like that. What's number 4?
Number 4, what you need to do to fall back in love with your business is, maybe you need to take a step back. I know this is like, really? Yeah, you love it. Put it down for a little bit. Yeah. Take some time off. Take a weekend away. Maybe you clear your calendar. There was definitely a time last year when my mom passed. I didn't realize, like, it's not that I fell in out of love with real estate or helping people, but the circumstances of my life made it so foggy. It made everything so foggy. And there was a point where I was trying to push and I was trying to continue to move at my same pace. And I had to acknowledge, like, sis, you have experienced a traumatic loss. Right. You have changed. You are not the same. And either you gonna sit down or life gonna sit you down. So I had to take some time away to regroup. And that honestly was an ongoing process last year. And now I feel so much more with it because I gave myself the gift of that time.
Yeah, I think the time off or away just allows you to think, period.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're thinking about your business or you're thinking about your family, I think it's perspective time. Again, we're talking about Martha's Vineyard. That's what I gained when we were there. I was just tired and just kind of sitting there and being in a different perspective. I mean, being in a different environment, right? I had just different perspectives because we went back in history.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So to kind of be in 2022 and COVID and all this fast pacedness, we went back and learned about how we got here and just, you know, how these homes were built and
just different struggles that other African Americans had. So sometimes it's easy for us to take our businesses, our blessings for granted because this is the way it's always been. But us going into a different environment and learning challenged us to really be mindful of really how blessed we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, no, that is huge. So definitely don't be afraid. And I know one of y'all like, if I take a day off, you know, my business gonna fail. That's when we gonna refer you back to number 2, right? Because if your business is going to blow up because you need to step away, I mean, and definitely use your good judgment on what this can look like for you. But if your business can't survive with you taking a little bit of time away, we're really going to encourage you to audit and look at those processes because we should have that flexibility because that's the point of being a business owner is to have some freedom and flexibility and time. And if you just don't, then that's very telling. Yeah.
All right, number 5, the last one. The question is it for you? And I think that's a really good question when it comes to business. Is what you're doing worth what you're doing? Yeah. And is it even working?
Is it working?
You know, you have a lot of people that do things for 10, 15, 20 years and sit back and say, man, I'm doing the same thing I was doing year 1. Yeah. You know, or year 5.
I'm just doing another. It's just repeated.
Absolutely. So I think that's an amazing question for you to really ask yourself and maybe look in the mirror when you ask that question, you know, to be real with yourself because time will tell.
Time will tell. And so often we continue to do things that are no longer a fit. Like sometimes you just outgrow an opportunity, right? Or maybe the need in the marketplace looks different. Maybe your gifting has evolved. Maybe there are different opportunities that you may need to pursue, but we don't want to quote unquote fail at this, that we're continuing to live in misery. So I think this is a huge one, is to really, and this can actually happen on that take time away piece, to really say, okay, is this really what I need to be doing in this season of my life? And sometimes it's just a hard patch. It is what you need to be doing, and we just need to make some of the changes we've talked about in order to continue. But sometimes you might have that real life, you know, look, when I sat back, I was like, keto just ain't for me. You know, like some things might not just, even though it could be good, it just may not be for you in that season. And that's okay, but we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves, really seek God to say, okay, if this isn't it, I need you to really give me direction on what I should be doing, and then not care that your cousin who ain't never had a job, let alone own the business, got something to say on Facebook, you know, when you start promoting your sign business, right? We have to just really take the time to figure out, am I walking in my purpose?
And then also I like that you use the word season, because some stuff is just for a season.
Just for a season.
I was talking to a guy last night, well respected in the real estate industry, Tang is his name, and he had been a fix and flipper and rental guy for a long time. In the last 2 years, he got into physically buying mobile home parks that were up and running. Yeah. And he was like, look, when I figured this piece out, this season was over. This is what I'm focused on for the next 10 to 15 years. And we started talking numbers and all kind of stuff. And he was like, you know, I had people taking me off the email list. Don't send me any more houses. Don't send me any more multifamily. Don't send me anything to a mobile home park. So it's okay. If that season is up and you're going to something else, you know?
Yeah, and think about it like this. Sometimes we need things in the season, right? But right now, like I think about my son Cameron. He used to suck a pacifier, right? When he was first born. He needed it in that season, right? To soothe him, to get him to sleep. if he was walking around at 11 years old sucking a pacifier,
that'd be a problem.
We would be like, okay, this is weird. Like, you need to evolve. And the same thing with our businesses, right? Maybe when you first started out, your season was to be a ghostwriter, but maybe it's time for you to step out and start writing for yourself.
Right.
So just really taking these things into account and just really, evaluating where you are, I think will be very helpful, especially when you feel like you've fallen out of love with what you knew you love to do.
Yeah. Don't be scared of the analyzation. I think that's part of business.
Yeah.
To really look at it and understand, the things the plus and minuses that needs to happen for you to continue to love to do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Eagle Talk fam, thank you so much for being here with us. And one thing is for sure is that Corey and I are in love with you. We are in love with this platform. And if any part of this episode has resonated with you, do us a favor, go ahead and hit that share button. And I don't know if you know this, but in the podcast world, like, reviews and ratings are everything.
Yeah.
So if you could just shout us out, go ahead, give us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it more than you know. It would literally take less than 2 minutes just to type something really quick to let all of the podcast world know that you actually care what we're talking about on Eagle Talk. So we will see you next week. And until then, Eagles, keep soaring.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.